Hey everyone, Mango7Roll here. How we doing today? Welcome to another episode of Epic 7, and today we're going to go over the triple summon banner. And I just want to apologize for this video not being out yet. The reason being, I'm in the middle of moving, and videos like this have been taking a little bit longer to make, so let's get into this here. So as for the custom group summon, let's just take a look at the targets here, and let's just kind of talk about each one. And then at the end of the video, I will do a summary of like my top 5 or something like that. The reason being is I could just say the most important units, but at the same time, there's so many people that already have the most important units and are looking for information on people like Cecilia or, you know, Charles or something like that. So let's just start from the top. So we have Luna right off the bat. So Luna has been one of the units I've had forever. She was my first triple S. I willed for her way back when, and I think she's fantastic. I actually think she's a lot better than I give her credit for. If you haven't seen my recent video of me just demolishing people with Luna, you might want to take a look at that. So if you don't have Luna, this is probably one I would definitely recommend going for. I don't think she's necessary, but just the ease in which you can take people out with Oxlots or something like that, or with Amelia, is just insane. And also, the other great part about Luna is she is insane for PvE as well. So for stuff like expeditions, for stuff like for Wyvern 11 or 13, even if you want to do that, she's just fantastic. She does so much damage with her skill 1 there too. And the other cool part, we have the Draco plates here. And this is another fantastic artifact, one of the ones you're going to want for sure. There's definitely always going to be a time a warrior wants this piece of gear. I believe I have mine maxed, and it's fantastic, and I would love more. I think that would be insane. So definitely highly recommended on Luna. Next up, we have Diene. And Diene just recently got buffed, but I definitely think she is not what she used to be, and I don't know if she's one I would put on here. She has a bunch of buffs here. She's got Dispels now, 2 debuffs here, and a Barrier, and she also has Unfading Memories, which is just not a good artifact from everything I know. So that's one of the downfalls with Diene here, is that I don't think her artifact is really going to do much. I might be wrong there, but I've never really used this one. But I think there's other alternatives you'll get more mileage out of than this. So yeah, Diene definitely on the lower end for me. We then have Landy. I think Landy's another one of these must pull units. If you don't have Landy, I would definitely be going for her. Just the insaneness that she does on Guild War offense, arena offense. Also in line with Luna, she does insane in PvE. She absolutely demolishes PvE, whether that's the expeditions or any new content we might get. Just the amount of damage she does with her skill 1 here, and the CR boosts and everything here, and everything is just so good with Landy. I definitely highly recommend getting her. And also for future PvE content, there's the possibility of stuff that has waves of enemies with buffs, and then she just becomes even more insane. One downfall, though, is Wall of Order. I don't think this is particularly a great artifact, but maybe we just haven't found the right use for it yet. I also just noticed in Wall of Order, she's got, like, silver hair. Huh. Never noticed that before, and it doesn't look very silver there. Okay, we then have Yufine here. And Yufine is a Dispeller with a little bit of evasion. She also has greater attack buff and CR boost here, too. Really good way to handle stuff like Bazaar, but that's not really a thing anymore. This is a really tough one for me because I don't use her anymore, but I know she's still a solid unit. I think the fact that she's limited definitely brings her up a little bit, and is definitely something I would like to have on my team just in case. Champion's Trophy is another one here. Effectiveness and chance to stun. I do think this is another solid artifact. And this is one of those artifacts where if certain characters come out, this might become insane for them. So I like to have at least one Champion's Trophy. Next up, we have SSB, and I think this is a no-brainer as well. I think this is a character you should definitely have in your arsenal. Having the Rangar's Drink here as well is just an insane artifact for certain units. And the thing with SSB is she's just a pocket pick for so many things. You can bring her into PvP, and if they don't have an answer for SSB, they just die. You can also use her in pretty much all PvE as well. Not only expeditions, but also Wyvern 13. She's fantastic for debuffing there. She's got the target on her skill 1. She's got defense break, and she's got all of the debuffs here. Really solid unit. And speaking of solid units, I think this one is 100% must have. I would probably say this is the most important out of any of them so far, at least from my eyes. Yes, she has definitely taken a step back with Piera being around, but I think the fact that she can hold Miss Confit, which decreases defense for her skill 2 and skill 1, I think that puts her above Piera in a lot of senses and a lot of areas. Again, fantastic unit for PvE and for PvP, and Guiding Light is also a fantastic artifact. One of those ones where it's fantastic now, but if we get a new unit that kind of excels and needs that Guiding Light as a ranger here, it'll become much, much, much more wanted. So definitely high on my list there. Wow, the limiteds are out of this world, honestly. Then we have Tenebria. Tenebria does some redirected provoke, unable to be buffs, and also some more stuff here. And she's got Fairytale for a Nightmare, which is another insane artifact for very specific units like Archdemon Mercedes and Fairytale Tenebria as well. This is another character I would definitely recommend going for. I don't personally use her very much, which kind of surprises me because she is just the definition of mango. Maybe I need to think this through again and go build her. And her artifact is great. I would not be sad about putting her on my trio. I'm looking at all these units and I'm kind of thinking this is going to take too long as I said that. So I'm just going to do really quick thoughts on each of these as we go through. We have Cecilia here, and Cecilia did get buffed. I don't really know what to say about Rise of the Monarch, but she does have decreased defense on her skill 1, which does make her useful in some PvE, and I have used her in PvP as well, but she's definitely on the middle tier for selecting who you want to pick. We also have Kisei here, kind of the same thing. Alabastron, I don't remember ever using this artifact, but she does tons of damage to buffed targets, which makes her great at taking out somebody like Hua Young. She's also insanely fast and does tons of damage. So this is one I wouldn't be sad about picking either. We then have Vildred, and Vildred has a speed imprint, which does make him exceptionally valuable. I don't really know how many people use his artifact, but having the damage here is great. Vildred used to be fantastic for farming, but that's not really something we need anymore. So I would definitely put him on the lower end of the list, maybe for specific cleaves, but that's not really my style. So hard for me to say here. We then have Charlotte here, whose all-star is the Elbrus Ritual Sword. Not only does it have one of the best arts for artifacts in the game, it's also insanely frustrating for your opponent to play against. I think Charlotte is a fantastic unit, but I don't know how she compares right now to stuff like Hua Young. So I feel like this is one I would take if you really like Charlotte, but also desperately need Elbrus Ritual Sword. We then have Balin Sazan, who is somebody I would definitely skip here. Just some debuffs, some damage, not really much of anything. And Last Tea Time isn't something I really see anybody use either. We have regular Yufine, kind of the same thing. She's actually a little bit of a standout because she's great at PvE, which makes her skill 1 here with decreased defense really solid. And Merciless Glutton, I've heard people use it quite a bit. It's not a terrible artifact, pretty good in certain situations, but she's definitely not somebody I would put in priority. We then have Ravi here with Sigurd Scythe, one of the best artifacts in the game and one of the enablers for a lot of warriors, somebody like Rem. Just absolutely insane artifact there. And she's just really good bruiser. But again, Hua Young has kind of outshone a lot of these fire units. If this was like maybe 6 months ago, Ravi would be on the top of the list, but I think she's definitely been outshadowed by others. And speaking of being outshadowed by others, Kairon is another one I am not too stoked to pull or to use anymore. I feel like he's a target for a buff in the future, so I'm really excited to see if they do something like that. And then Shepherd of the Hollow is another great artifact, but there's tons of other thief artifacts you can use. Definitely not somebody I would recommend over a lot of those limiteds we talked about. We then have Iseria, and Iseria resets cooldowns, Also decreases defense, really good for PvE. Don't really see her used anywhere else right now. And we also have Song of Stars, which is another really good PvE artifact. But again, I would not put her high on my list. Speaking of people I wouldn't put high on my list, Charles is another one that used to be exceptional, but I don't really see too much use for him anymore. He self-buffs, he dispels, he RNGs, he also has Justice for All, which does give more buffs and randomness. I'm not sure who uses Justice for All right now, but it is a decent artifact, but again, not somebody I would put on the top of my list. We also have Cerise here, same exact thing. I would actually put him way lower on the list than anybody else I think we've gone through so far, especially since we have Manica of Control here. It's not a terrible artifact, but I don't think it's needed. Definitely not recommending Cerise. Same with Haste. We are not recommending Haste. I love Haste's skill set. I love everything about him. And Rihanna and Luciella is boobs and a half. Actually, wait, no, boobs time 2. Wait, no, boobs and a half, because we can only really see 3. So there's that, but definitely not somebody I would put on the list. I think eventually he's going to get a buff that makes him busted, but that time is not now. And we also have Tywin here. Same sort of thing. He has some buffs here that boost, but just nowhere near as good as a lot of the other characters that do similar things right now. And then we have Crown of Souls, which removes souls from the enemy, also increases defense. I don't really know who uses that on defense either. Sorry, a lot of these miscellaneous artifacts that are not widely used, I just don't think they're used too much. So I don't want to say like this isn't used just in case somebody uses it really exceptionally well. We have Mui, who I think is just completely outclassed by so many people right now, which is just unfortunate. Again, she has the problem with having low chances to have stuff happen. We then have Circus Fantation, which is the kind of the same thing with the artifacts. Not really super useful for a lot of units. We then have Lytica, Public Execution here. A bunch of CR manipulation, but again, not a really good unit right now. And we also have Sword of Judgment here, which is also not too great of an artifact. It's a fun one, but I find myself not really using that in anything but PvE. Speaking of which, Lytica might be good for specific Abyss stages. So if you don't have her and you're running out of targets to pick from this, maybe pick her just for that. We then have Ken, and Ken is just completely outclassed again. He does all of the things, and we have Samsara Prayer Beads, which is not so great of a artifact here. Definitely would not picking him. Then we have my baby. We have Aramintha. So this is actually a tough one right now to not be biased. So unbiased, I legitimately think she's a pretty decent choice right now. I think she's performing exceptionally well for me, as is shown from all the videos I've done recently. Tons of burns, tons of damage, good stability in terms of defenses if you build her right. And she also is holding Etika's Scepter here, which is an insane artifact. So many people can use this to like huge proportions. Really, really impressed with this artifact. I think she's definitely a good choice here, and I would put her on higher on the list for sure. And that's, I don't think that's me being biased. Maybe it is, but maybe not. Probably me being biased. We then have Chloe, who does have a unique ability to inflict Magic Nail, which makes them take extra damage when they're hit, kind of like Daydream Joker. But that's about all she does. She stuns and stuff like that. But the thing is, Magic Nail is really PvE, and then you're stunning, which bosses are immune to stun. So I'm just not a fan of this unit. She's just out of place. For Artifact 2, I don't see anybody ever using it as well. Definitely not on my list. We then have Tenebria here, who is surprisingly still really good. Tons of debuffs, decreased combat readiness, decreased speed, and then decreased defense here as well. She's somebody I use in PvE every now and then, specifically for Expedition, since she does have the AoE and the consistent defense breaks. Not really a fan of Crimson Move of Nightmares either, but herself is actually pretty good for PvE. We then have Basar, who used to be insane, but definitely dropped out. There's just way too many people that do way too many things way too much better than him. Just an opener that does some things and other people do it 10 times better with faster base speed. But we have Abyssal Crown, one of the most annoying artifacts in the game, and definitely something I think everybody should have at level 30. So that might be somebody you want to pick up just for the Abyssal Crown. We then have Tamarin, and Tamarin is pretty much a must-have, I think. Maybe not as much as before with stuff like Amelia and other Soul Weavers. but she's just the PvE goddess, and she will up your PvE game to the moon. She also has Idol's Cheer, which is a really fun artifact, and I like using it sometimes, but in general, I find the supporter artifacts that do healing and dispels a little bit better. But if you're still struggling with PvE, or if you don't have her, maybe she's somebody you definitely want to pick up just because of that. And also, I'm going to go back because I didn't really mention this. I gave her a pass. But Isaria as well. Isaria plus Tamarin are definitely one of the two combos that go together really well for Abyss and Tower. So please consider that as well if you are looking for that PvE situation. We also have Ludwig here, who just got buffed, and I honestly have no idea about him. I think he's still usable. He was usable before, but not very good, but I'm not sure how good he is. Also, Time Matter, I don't think it's the most used artifact here. I wish I could say more on this guy, but he's just not my jam, but his buffs were really good. We then have Crow, who is a knight that can hold Aureus, do tons of defense down, or defense ups, do huge damage to summon Siegfried here, and provokes on his skill 1. And he also Holy Sacrifice, another insane artifact. This is definitely one of the RGBs I recommend, because not only is he stable for PvE and PvP and Guild War, but he's also just really good everywhere. And I guess I said the same thing twice, but he's just a solid unit, definitely up there on units I would pick. I cannot believe how many there are. I'm going to skip through some of these faster just because this is going so long. We have Bellona here, not really a good unit anymore, and Iron Fan, not really a good artifact. This artifact one day will pop off. That is not today. We have Secret, who is the Wyvern Queen, insane Wyvern unit, and other PvE places as well. But Cradle of Life, not so good of an artifact, so that's a little bit sad. Also, I think we're getting her for free, so maybe that would push her out of the running for this. We then have Cowrick as well. I've tried using him, but I just didn't do too well, especially with no Molagoras. I think he's outclassed by many other units right now. Black Hand of the Goddess looks okay, but I don't think I really use that on anybody now either. Violet, not much that needs to be said. He is insane. Absolutely bonkers unit for PvE and PvP. You can see me losing to him with fire units all day long. Definitely pick this guy up if you haven't. We also have Violent Talisman here, who is another really good artifact. I really like this because you can get like 20% attack on your first turn with a lot of units. And you can use like MLDB on one and Violet Talisman on the other. Really good choice for this. Speaking of interesting choices, we have Sirmia, who is just an insane single target DPS with Border Coin here, which also helps Sirmia do her insane DPS. I'm not sure if people are really using her for Guild War offense anymore, but people are using her for a lot of PvE content, whether that be Expedition or Cades. We then have Pavel, who is really good if you have really good gear, really fast, really damagey gear. I see a lot of the higher end players always use Pavel for everything. I personally don't really use him, but if you're interested in cleaving or just having openers that do insane amounts of damage, maybe this is somebody you want to choose. Dux Noctis is an artifact I've never really seen used either, unfortunately. We then have Lulika with some buffs, some defense down, some defense ups. Really solid unit. Also does pretty insane damage. I personally use Lulika for PvE, Expeditions, and Cades. And also Spirit's Breath is a really handy artifact to have for certain people like Oxlots that can make him insane to be able to reset skills like this. We have Vivian. I'm not a fan of Vivian. I think she's just out of place. She buffs with immunity, does pretty good damage, also holds Dignus Orb, which helps protect some people, like Emma Lulika as well. Kind of interesting choice here. I don't think I would be picking her as well. We then have Lilius, who definitely lost some love lately. She provokes with Dispels and CR reduction. She also has Bastion of Prelucia, which gives somebody a barrier at the start of the battle. Definitely on the medium to medium high end of choices for me. Also to mention, she's very good for PvE, combined with Tamarin, combined with Isaria, getting all those dual attacks, getting all those debuff cleanses, CR reductions, everything like that. We then have Ray, who I believe is a super good unit, but he's just outshone by so many others. Doctor's Beg, pretty sweet here because dispels a debuff from all allies and recovers health. after using a non-attack skill. Really fantastic artifact here. Do not really recommend taking him with how many options we have. We then have Elena, who's been buffed a couple times. Looks pretty sweet. Really good pocket pick for RTA. Definitely somebody I would recommend if you're an RTA player. And Stella Harpa is also another really good artifact that I do like using on a few of my RTA people. Lilibet here is somebody I don't personally use, but I've heard she's pretty fantastic for taking out certain units, but it's just not something I am interested in. I don't have the Mulagores or anything for her. And Creation and Distraction is just such an RNG artifact, it's not for me either. Melissa, my girl, getting bopped all day long. My lowest win percent of any person ever. I think she's fun. I don't think she's necessarily good. I think she does less damage than Huayang and is 10 times less tanky. Bloody Rose is actually a pretty sweet artifact for some people, but again, not something I'm super happy about picking. We then have Kana, who you do get for free, so I would definitely skip out on Kana for this. We have Air to Surface Misha Missile here too, but you know, definitely skip out on that. Alensinox as well, same sort of idea. Used to be really good. I never see her used anymore, and Alexinox's Wrath is just a way to like patch up certain gear if you're having trouble with getting up your crit chance, but I do think there are better artifacts. Definitely would be skipping on Alencia. Same being said for Chu here, I would definitely be skipping on Chu. Not really a great artifact here, not really a great kit, not really a great anything going on here. Ooh, we then have Rowana, who is fantastic for PvE, specifically a lot of expeditions, also a lot of stuff like Katie's, also a lot of stuff like Abyss, and she's also a really good pocket pick into a lot of Guild Wars and stuff like that too. She would definitely be up on my list, honestly. She's a great unit, and I love to have her, and I would hate not having her in my arsenal. Also, Touch of Rekos here. A little bit of a decent artifact. Not sure how much I like this, though. We then have regular Celine. I see her used a lot, but I'm never really impressed when it's used against me. But she's really good against people who use non-attack skills as openers. And this also helps that as well. I'm not sure where I'd rate this, but I'm not too impressed fighting against her. But maybe people in certain situations are having a lot better time than I am with her. However, there's so many units. We have Mort here, again, kind of a meme unit at this point. Maybe one day he'll be buffed into just exceptionalness, but that's not today. Not somebody I'm super happy for, not an artifact I'm super happy for either. We then have Senya, who is a great unit, but also okay, they're gone. It's a great unit and counters people quite a bit with the decreased hit chance here, and also the artifact not too happy with, but it's good for somebody like Senya. I don't know if I would pick this unit, but if she's somebody you like and want to try out, maybe she can be super useful. I think especially with stuff like Huayang now, not really the greatest choice. Speaking of not really the greatest choice, we have Erval in here. Just not a great unit right now, or ever. Honestly, he definitely needs some help. His counterattack stance needs to be like permanent, not a buff. There's so many things that needs to be changed with him. Not sure on his artifact either. I've tried using it. It just wasn't consistent. We then have Flan here, a really good debuffer that kind of opens up, boosts some people here, gives them attack, crit damage, and also decreases defense, both AoE. Really good with soul burns and stuff like that, especially with their artifact here. Having 10 souls acquired from this non-attack skill is pretty nutso. I definitely recommend this artifact just to have, just in case. But I'm not sure where I would specifically use Flan. I know a lot of people use her regularly. She's just not my style. We then have Edda, who is actually an insane damage dealer now. She's also really good CC. She's just a solid unit. She also has skill 1 defense down. So much stuff now. I really like this character, and I think she's exceptional in a lot of places. I don't think she's necessary anywhere, which kind of brings her down a little bit, as opposed to somebody like Tamarin, who kind of like does her job insanely well. We also have Politis, who is still an insane unit, just counters non-attack skills as well, does it way better than pretty much everybody else. This is definitely a character if you're interested in RTA. I would be making sure you have her in your arsenal. I actually don't even know what Knowledge Seed does. it doesn't do very much. So I would definitely skip that artifact, but Politis herself is fantastic. Illyanav, not a great unit either. She does a quarter of Hwoyang's damage and tankiness. Not good. She also has a decent artifact, but again, not good compared to other ones. We have Ran, who is one of the most insane openers in the game, especially if your gear is insane. He has the Ignores ER here, which is just bonkers. Such an insane opener with insane base speed. Definitely recommended if you care about PvP at all. And finally, we have Destina here. And Destina's fantastic. I think she definitely got a bit of an upgrade with this revive on her skill 3, but I don't think she's required. I don't think she's exceptionally good right now. And I think she still needs a little bit of help somewhere. I'm not sure where, but she definitely needs a bit of help. The Magistraff is just a solid artifact all around too. So yeah, those are all the units. That's a lot. And I'm just going to go over the ones I think people should be pulling out of like a pool of 10 or something like that. So first rule is limited summons are really important. So if you do not have any of these limited people, I would pull them. I would put them on the list and get them. If you don't have Draco Plate, if you don't have Fairytale for a Nightmare, if you don't have Rengar's Drink, if you don't have Guiding Light, I would also put those on your list to get them just because they're limited, and not having limiteds really is unfortunate. The ones that are most used and best out of these, in my opinion, would be the Cerise, the Luna, especially with Hwoyang right now, the Landy, and then maybe the F10. They're all really good. Maybe Diene and Holiday Yufine would be the lowest rank, but probably just Diene the lowest rank, and I think Yufine is actually... They're all good. Get them. As for non-limited units here, the ones I would really recommend here, let's go down the list. Iseria is one I would really recommend for people struggling with Abyss, with if you don't have her to pair up with Tamarin. What else here? Araminta, just because she's the greatest girl of all time. Crow is actually probably one of the most solid picks here just for stability and usage all around. We also have Violet here, who I definitely not leave home without. He doesn't even take really insane gear, although it helps. We then have Rowana, another one that is a staple for PvE, which I think is really important to have. And then we have Politis for PvE as well, Ran for PvE as well, and was that all of them? I think Lilius is another one for PvE too, and Tamarin, of course, the PvE goddess here. And as for artifacts from these, it's really tough to say, but Sigurd Scythe you cannot really go home without with a lot of units. Elbra's Sword here as well. If you're just looking to get some of the artifacts. I also really like Edeka's Scepter. I really like Abyssal Crown. There's so many artifacts here that are just solid for everything. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a blurb about all the units, and I hope this really helped you out. I would love to go into detail on every single unit, but I think the video would be like 3 hours long. So I did the best I could. If you have any more questions about anybody, let me know in the comments down below, or come join my Discord, ask me in Super Secret Mangoville, and we'll talk there. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe as always, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everybody!